You may have heard the phrase, there's a new gold when it comes to business, but most businesses that I see and work with don't have their hands around what this really is, and they're definitely not leveraging to their fullest potential. I want to show you exactly how to get your hands on some of this gold and how to use it right now. So you may have heard this phrase on a commercial, or you don't know where you heard it, but basically what they're referring to is data. People don't even know what data really is. You think of numbers and spreadsheets, but there's a way to use data inside your business that most people just aren't doing and don't fully understand how to take advantage of this. And there's three types of data that I want to talk about and show you how to leverage to the fullest potential, which will revolutionize the way that you do business, that you know what's working, you know what's not working. I'm going to show you that here now. So one's prospect data, you got marketing campaign data and CRM data. There's a ton of other types of data that you can and should track. This particular video is going to talk about these three, and let's talk about what those are individually. So prospect data, you may or may not have tools to help you figure out who your ideal prospects are. You want to know where to find them, how to get them, and what to do with it. So let's dive in and let me show you all of those three things right now. So the type of prospect data I'm talking about is basically contact details of your ideal customer avatar. So the perfect person to buy your product or service, who are they? How do I find their contact information? And I'm specifically talking mostly about B2B, so businesses that sell to other businesses. There's other ways to do this in the B2C market, but this will be most useful in the B2B space. So there's a number of ways to get this, and there's a number of reasons this is important. Let's talk about a few here. For example, let's say you target specific businesses and you know the type of business they are. You can use something like an outscraper to scrape Google Maps, to scrape Google Shopping, products, TripAdvisor, Trustpilot. There's a ton of different spots. Let's just talk about a Google Maps scraper, which can be really helpful. And if you want to get into this, you can say, hey, I want to look at hair salons that are in New Jersey. This will literally search Google, find every hair salon in New Jersey with a Google business listing, and spit this out in a giant spreadsheet. And that can be extremely valuable if that's your target market and you're trying to sell products, for example, your shampoo into these different places. Right now you have a giant list of every single ideal customer that at least has a Google business listing, which is going to probably be thousands. And if you expand to the whole country, it'd be tens of thousands, if not more. Right? So now you have a little bit of information, and there's quite a bit you can do with this data. The first thing you might want to do is enrich the contacts, meaning you have the company, but who works at those companies? Who are the decision makers at those companies? So you can use something like a Zoom Info if you have a license here. You can use something like a Seamless AI. You can use something like Apollo. All of these different tools allow you to figure out who works at specific companies and what their contact information is. I'm talking about emails and even cell phone numbers oftentimes are in these databases that you can purchase and have access to. And that data can be leveraged in a number of ways. One of the ways you might use it is in some type of outbound campaign in B2B. You literally would have a sales rep say, here's your targets, go after these people, email them, call them, drive to their locations, whatever it takes, right? You're doing some type of outbound sales. Another way you could use it is by using that data in a custom audience. So sometimes you might run inbound campaigns, but wouldn't it be nice to tell the different advertising platforms who your ideal target is so they have a better understanding of who they should send your way. So you can use the data in that way too. I know we're still at high level here, but hopefully that shows you how to find some data, how to extract more important and enrich the data, and then what to do with that data. There's a couple examples of what to do there. I know if you just follow those steps and you're in B2B space and you're not leveraging any type of data like this will be a game changer for you. And let's go into the next one, which is CRM data. So I know this is still high level and obviously there's a lot more work to be done in the back end, but hopefully this has been helpful for you to show you that there's a way to figure out who your ideal prospects are, and then furthermore to enrich that, to get their contact information, and a couple different examples of what to do with that data. So that's prospect data. Let's go to the next one, which is marketing data. Marketing data can be so important, and most companies that I see in the small to medium sized range don't really leverage this, with some exceptions, but you really want to be able to track what you're doing. Any type of marketing campaign should always be some type of test, where you're always testing some type of variable like you used to do in science class, right, back in high school, testing different variations and see what works and what doesn't. So I'm going to show you what that is. I'm going to show you how to do some split tests, and of course what to do with it and why it's important. So let's talk a little bit about this marketing data component. One thing you should be doing on a regular basis is nurturing your existing lead list. And one of the ways you would do that is something like an email newsletter, for example, some type of marketing automation system, content, what have you. One thing you should be doing on a regular basis is nurturing your existing lead list, providing value, providing content, making sure they get to know you, like you, trust you, and see you as the authority, and truly helping them with whatever their challenges are, because then you're going to be the go-to. So an example example is if you're sending an email newsletter, you could be sending these out relatively frequently. Again, don't do buy. You want to do value added content, but something like a constant contact or an active campaign will allow you to deploy marketing campaigns to these people on a regular basis. And what's cool about tools like this is they allow you to do split testing. So split testing is basically a fancy way to say a percentage of your target audience is going to see one thing, a percentage is going to see the other, and then you're going to be able to look at the metrics and decide which one's the winner and double down on that. So for example, if you ran a campaign and one got a 3% response rate, one got a 1.2%, if you only ran A in this particular example, you would be missing out on a drastic amount of leads. Like 1.2 to 3 in this particular case is not an increase of 1.8%, it's nearly triple, right? Because if you had 100 visitors to the site, only 1.2 in this particular example would have converted, or 3 would have converted here. That's just a massive difference. So split testing is so important because if you don't split test, you'll never know the difference. You can do this with websites, landing pages, you can do this with your email copy, your subject line. There's a million different things you can split test. And if you're running marketing campaigns and you're not split testing, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. You just are. I mean, there's no human on earth that's gonna get it right every single time and pick the right option from the first get-go. So you really wanna be able to test on a regular basis. And you can test, like I said, in your email copy, your actual websites, the graphics that you put out there for your advertisements, if you're doing ads. And this is a really important piece of the puzzle. So hopefully you're doing that. And if not, you can start now. Let's go to number 3, which is your CRM data. If you're not using a CRM of some sort, you're definitely not maximizing the amount of sales you can get, especially in a B2B environment. B2C is a little bit different, but you're gonna need a CRM there as well, probably a little bit different one. But essentially, being able to track the customer journey, having a lead in there that you know where that lead came from. They came from a Facebook ad 2 years ago. They've been getting your emails for the last 2 years. You finally put out this special, then they bought, right? Being able to track all that is so critically important. So having all this data stored in some type of CRM, I cannot stress how important this is, how much more money you'll make, especially if you have automation set up throughout the CRM, which is a little bit more advanced, but you crawl, walk, run. You can have something set up where if a client reaches a certain lead score, a prospect reaches a lead score, meaning they came to your website a couple times, you score them and have points for that. They've interacted with your emails or clicked on a link in your email, you can add points for that. They went to a particular page on your website, you add points for that. This can all be done. Right, this can all absolutely be done and should be done so that everything's being tracked using data and your team doesn't have to guess which prospects are the most engaged. Every day there's a dashboard teed up for them to show you who the most engaged prospects are. You can even automations deployed to these people. So try to imagine this. Your team can log in every day, see who the most engaged leads are, see which ones need to be called right now or emailed right now, or even have an automation that takes place where when they visit a particular page on a site about your pipe fitting mechanism, they get an email no more than 20 minutes later talking about some of the benefits of this pipe fitting mechanism and how it will change the way they do their installs. There can be so many different ways you can do this, and if you're not doing this, I cannot stress to you enough how important this is, because you're leaving tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars on the table by not being able to use data to your advantage, see who's interacting with your site, with your content, with your sales reps, and being able to see what that looks like. Furthermore, in terms of the sales activities, a lot of times B2B companies have a sales process for each individual rep that's kind of like willy-nilly, right? Well, I don't know why John's doing better than Sam. I have no clue, right? Does Sam do 10 emails a day and John does 10 phone calls? Nobody knows oftentimes. It's not tracked through some type of system. Wouldn't it be nice to have sort of standardized messaging across the board so you can see which activities yield the highest ROI? If you had that, you were tracking it, you'd have your salespeople all do the same thing, right? You'd use the messaging that works and resonates with the target market, and you'd have that happening on a regular basis. When you have more and more predictable results, you have a more and more predictable pipeline and more predictable revenue over time in terms of growth. So hopefully this has been valuable for you. You can understand why you need to start tracking data, implementing some data tracking systems. Happy to help if you ever want to have a conversation. We can show you what that looks like. But overall, you really want to talk to someone internally at your company, talk to a friend that knows this stuff, hire a vendor, whatever it takes. You want to figure out a way to start tracking data and using data to your advantage, because especially as AI becomes more and more prominent, it's going to become easier and easier to do. And if you're not doing it, like I said, you're leaving money on the table. So hopefully this is valuable for you, and I'll see you in the next one.